What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Fringe. Pierre Poilievre is still under attack. Forget the 100 longest name ballot, 100 plus longest name ballot that's going on with the interference in our political elections or by-elections, whether federally or provincially. Pierre's got bigger fish to fry, as the left just can't handle Pierre becoming leader of the opposition again. They find him a threat. I don't know what is going on. I've often said that, I'm open to scrutiny when scrutiny is fair, when scrutiny is deserved. However, the left just want to find ways to kick up dust to ensure at all stops that Pierre Poilievre cannot maintain his leadership with the Conservative Party of Canada. It really blows my mind. I'm going to show you an article here coming up as to why Pierre's got a big problem on his hands. But first off, I want to talk about how I found this article, and it's something I'm really excited to talk about today. Ground news. The media used to be trusted, and most people used to be on the same page or at least be able to respectfully disagree. So what went wrong? Well, to answer that, let me know if this sounds familiar. You're scrolling through social media and you see a news story with this rather inflammatory caption. The story seems important, but you're not familiar with the source or how credible it is. You then skim through the comment section quickly to find it's no help to you, and you leave more confused than you were before and give up not knowing what to trust. Instead, let's read the story on Ground News, a website and app developed to give readers an easier way to be well informed without the chaos as a news comparison platform. They gather articles from every source reporting on a given story so that you can compare coverage and see which angles get emphasized or ignored, helping you see every side of every story. And that's why for each news outlet they show important context, like the political bias of a news source, how reliable their reporting is, and who owns them. This approach allows to create the bias bar, which shows if any story is receiving balanced coverage from left, center, and right-leaning sources, or if the coverage skews toward one particular side. The blind spot feed lets you take back control, showing you stories from both the left and right so you can walk a mile in someone else's news and adopt a more balanced news diet. And unlike many news sites, they don't run ads, so they're not concerned with keeping you glued to their website with clickbait and selling your time to the highest bidder. Instead, they ask readers to subscribe to support their work to get unlimited access to features like the blind spot, feed ownership, info factuality ratings, and more. So join their community of well-informed subscribers from across the world and the political spectrum and get 40% off unlimited access to the best features with Advantage subscriptions. Then you can navigate whatever comes next with confidence that you're seeing the full story for every story. Visit the link in the description or on screen during the video to claim your discount. Now, don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, I only sponsor companies that I think are going to be beneficial for you guys, something that you'd like to use. I think Ground News is fantastic. I use it when finding my articles, and it really helps me decipher what's accurate, what's not accurate, who I can trust, or at least take facts from without wondering if things have been fact-checked at all. I want to show you this article that came from the Hill Times as a result. Make sure to head over to Ground News. Again, groundnews.com/fringe. Get your 40% off their highest tier platform so that you can actually get the news you need and, stay on top of it like I do. Now, here's an article from the Hill Times really trying to bash in on Pierre Poilievre. I often ask the question that if they were so concerned on the left that Pierre would never get the point lead that he had on Justin Trudeau, that he's never going to be prime minister, why, oh why, are they doing the 100 plus person ballot? Why are they slamming him as often as possible to spread propaganda? If they didn't perceive him as a threat. This is how we know Pierre still is our guy in the office that's best fit for the job. This is why I still back Pierre Poilievre. He's obviously got people scared. Quote in the article saying he's using us. Independent by-election candidates say frustration is getting louder over Pierre Poilievre parachuting into Alberta riding. So it says here, now just watch the rhetoric, because this is the stuff we're going to have to watch all the way up to election day for his riding. I believe it's August 19th. Pierre Poilievre has chosen one of the safest Tory seats in the country to try to punch his ticket back to Parliament Hill, but his opponents say the Conservative leader is using their riding as a political pawn, and his win isn't a sure thing. Now, I've stated before, there is some animosity within this riding. Now, I've spoken to people who do live in the riding. I do have folks who live in the riding in our comment section that have said, hey, I'm still voting for the guy. I don't really care what people are saying. Thank God for that, because there's been people saying that they don't feel that they're going to get the representation they need. You've seen independent candidates saying that, hey, at least I live here. At least I'm going to represent the area. Pierre doesn't care. He's just going to go to Ottawa. Everything's being done to essentially push Pierre out. Now, I've said that I think he'll get roughly, my guess is somewhere around 60% of the vote. It's a very strong conservative riding. Let's take a look at the article, and then I'll give my thoughts when it's done here. The upcoming by-election in Battle River, Crowfoot, Alberta, is Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre's a potential ticket back to the House of Commons, but the competition says Poilievre is out of touch with the rural riding and that his victory is far from guaranteed. Well, I've been keeping track a lot of Pierre's door knocking, a lot of his campaigning that he's doing around there. Again, we're supposed to have Pierre on the channel, hopefully in the near future. He's been doing a fantastic job. The reception while he's on the ground has been mostly positive. I'm in touch with a lot of his teams that are going door knocking on his behalf. Again, they're reporting very positive feedback from those who live in the riding. So things are still looking good for Pierre. It says the by-election was called on June 30th after former Conservative MP Damien Kurek, of course, announced his resignation. Sarah Spanier, a first-time independent candidate, was compelled to run in the August 18th contest after Kurek's departure, saying it left people in her community feeling like pawns in a political game. She told the Hill Times, more and more people are getting very vocal about their frustration over Poilievre parachuting in as an Alberta candidate after losing the Ontario seat he held for 2 decades in April. Now, what's funny is that if you go back to the election, look, some mistakes were made. Boots on the ground should have been in Carleton against Bruce Fanjoy. But I find it funny that Bruce Fanjoy was running in a new riding that had its boundaries redrawn. He promised government workers he was going to look after them. And now, of course, Mark Carney saying, well, we're going to have to cut government workers. Pretty funny. Not funny for those losing their jobs, but funny that they promise all of these things. And now Bruce has egg on his face because guess where a lot of those government workers live? Well, in his riding. I'm not going to get into all the mistakes that I feel that were made or things that could have been done better. But let's take a listen into what the article has to continue saying. It's honestly nice to hear that people are starting to realize that he's using us, she said, adding that many were angry following Kurek's resignation. Again, I've spoken to a number of residents, and while some of them are frustrated and have questions about representation, I don't see anybody being angry. It says voters overwhelmingly supported Damien, only to have their choice ripped away on a whim because Pierre got fired from his home riding, and now he feels he can use Battle River Crowfoot as some type of political pawn, assuming the riding is a guaranteed win, she said. I don't think that that's what's happening here. I don't believe in that. Again, what the people voted for were conservatives. Anybody who doesn't understand our election, especially our American viewers, if they're off on our Canadian elections, essentially what happens is you vote for the party that you want. Now, you'll have a representative or an MP running in that riding. So Damien Kurek, of course, was the MP for Battle River Crowfoot. But if you wanted Pierre Poilievre as your prime minister, you would essentially vote for Damien Kurek. And if he wins his seat, a conservative holds that seat, which gives you more seats in the House of Commons to roughly elect your prime minister. So what people voted for in Battle River Crowfoot was a conservative. Pierre Poilievre is a conservative. Damien Kurek's a conservative. I don't see why they wouldn't do it again. I personally find it very insulting, said Spanier, who has since been told the Canadian press that she'd stopped door knocking due to death threats she attributes to her advocacy on trans rights. I would really like to hear audio from this because I don't know of anybody who would be issuing death threats when you're door knocking based on your political views. If you're getting door threats for your life, door threats, did I say door? I said door threats, death threats. at the doors. Wouldn't you call the police? Wouldn't you press charges? You obviously know where the people live. I think that I'm going to hit X to doubt on that one. Sarah Spanier is running against Pierre Poilievre as an independent candidate on August 18th by-elections for Battle River Crowfoot. It says Poilievre is currently set to run against at least 9 other candidates, not including those running as part of the protest effort organized by the Longest Ballot Committee. Along with Spanier, the other candidates are independent Bonnie Critchley, United Party of Canada's Grant Abraham, Libertarian Party of Canada's Michael Harris, Christian Heritage Party of Canada's Jeff Will. Like, I'm not going to go through all these guys because they got the Green Party, they got everybody else. They've got also the PPC's Jonathan Bridges, who you'll see Maxime Bernier has been in that riding since early July, promoting this, trying to shill. They just want one seat, folks. They're not going to beat Pierre. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. The PPC anyways. An additional 72 candidates listing are running as associated with the Longest Ballot Committee. Again, we talk about that on another video. The group says it's aiming to get somewhere around 200 candidates on the list after getting 91 candidates on the ballot in Poilievre's former riding of Carleton back in April. Again, as I discussed in that video, this is election interference. It shouldn't be allowed. I don't know why the province can't just step in, because it's not a matter of democracy at this point or saying, well, you're stopping democracy or you're stopping people from running in an election. We know what's going on. We know what's happening here. That's where something has to be done. Spanier said she's running as an independent because her riding needs an MP who cannot be forced to step down because of party ties. It's time that we listen to the people of Carleton. They did see who he really was, said Spanier, who has lived in the riding for a year. Critchley, a retired veteran, told CBC's Power in Politics she's running for a similar reason. So one thing there, Spanier said she's been living in the riding for a year. 1 year. And yet you think you know what the people want or need? Again, X to doubt. Critchley, a retired veteran, told CBC's Power in Politics she's running for similar reasons. Independent candidate Bonnie Critchley is running for the election in Battle River Crowfoot. We just had an election as we spent all that money and we elected the candidate of our choice who promptly turned around and said, no, I don't want the mandate I asked you for, she said in a July 15th interview. He didn't say, no, I don't want the mandate. He was stepping down to help his family farm. Now, I know he's been announced to have been taking on a board position since then. People have to realize that's very different from politics. He still have time for his family farm doing that. It's very different than being in Ottawa. Like, oh, the speculation's hilarious. We're spending another $2 million to vote in an angry guy from Ottawa who doesn't know jack about this area. Both Critchley and Spanier said that they think it's important. Their MP is familiar with the riding and understands the committee's needs. Again, somebody who's only lived there a year saying we wish that they'd be more familiar with the riding. Again, the hypocrisy is outstanding. It's a whole different way of then living in it's a whole different way of than living in an urban area, Spanier said to the Rural Alberta, noting that she has a lot of quiet support in her community that she thinks gives her a good shot at winning. Again, it's not going to happen. Poilievre's margin of victory could affect leadership review, says the professor. Now, that's the one thing I've talked about where I said if you're even getting 60%, I would take that as a fail because it's a very heavy conservative riding. Now, with this longest ballot issue being in there now, they've actually helped Pierre, because I think that if anybody were sounding up a leadership review after this, they could at least use that to say, well, how was he supposed to run a decent campaign with all that interference? In fact, because of the longest ballot, we actually will never know what the true support for Pierre would have been. Another reason it should be kicked out. It goes on here to say that the question is, will the margin of victory be diminished with all the factor into people's decisions about who they want as a leader? Williams highlighted pointing out Poilievre's upcoming leadership review in January, which will take place at the party's convention in Calgary. Now, again, I'm hoping to cover that in the new year in Calgary. Stay tuned for that one. But if Poilievre wins by a slimmer margin than Kurek, it could raise questions amongst those who wonder whether he's got the ability to carry them successfully through to another election. The answer is yes. I don't see the Conservative Party asking Pierre to run and stay on as leader putting up with his by-election run if they weren't going to keep him around. I think all of this is just the left kicking up dust again. Keep your eyes on this stuff, folks, especially if you live in Battle River Crowfoot. There's going to be a lot of this going on between now and the by-election, and it's just a sample of what Pierre is going to have to endure just to get his butt back in that chair to be leader of the opposition. It's sad to see that after we talked about the longest ballot, after we talk about this, that the knives are out, and unexpectedly so. I just find it funny with the hypocrisy that you can look at all the times Pierre has spoken in the riding, the times he has support of the people, loud cheers, unequivocal support. Yet representatives want to say that they're being abandoned and mistreated. I don't get it. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. If it's your first time here, I hope this video has earned your subscription. Make sure as you're hitting that button, hit the bell for all notifications so you never miss a beat whenever a video drops. Go check out Ground News at groundnews.com/fringe, folks. Again, get your 40% off your membership over there so that you can check out what they have to offer. Again, it's a great product. I love it. Join me live here on the channel each and every Friday for Friday Night Fringe, our weekly live streaming show, where I'm joined by the beautiful Mrs. Fringe as we talk about everything that happened this week in Canadian politics, everything we know coming up in the week ahead, as well as your Q&A within the greatest YouTube community on the platform. I look forward to chatting with you guys each and every week and hearing what you have to say outside of making these videos. I most importantly look forward to hearing what you have to say this Friday night, starting at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, here on the channel. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you on the next one.